Hey guys, as the month of October continues, so does our charities. I hope that with your help, we can raise at least $500 for Knitted Knockers. Remember, breast cancer affects everybody, and you might not know who might have it. You might even get it one day or have a very high chance of it. Donate today. Remember, get your checks, and you are loved, you are wanted, and you got this. Now on with the video.
Babidi-boopy?
Che cosa?
Peter, what are you doing?
Speaking Italian.
Peter, you can't speak Italian just because you have a mustache.
Tu sei un pazzo! Va via da qui!
Peter Griffin and Wright don't belong in the same sentence, Kitty. Shut up, Catherine. You're my new Meg. Hi, I'm Kitty Monk, and I'm here to talk to you about Family Guy. Or more specifically, their titular character, Peter Griffin. Much different from that wacky doodle P-tier Griffin who goes to rehab. Now, with my list, oddly, one of my favorite things to do is to take a jerk character and share the times I feel like they're correct, whether or not the narrative treats them as such. I mean, I did it for Cartman, and Stan, and now him. I feel like sometimes you need a character who is written to be in the wrong to be right. It makes them more well-rounded, and sometimes it's just fun to point out. But it can also be challenging. Really, this was probably the hardest one, like I usually do. But I persevered, and I got 10 entries. So we're gonna count them down, starting with...
Stroke! 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 Stop mocking me!
This one is weird, as it's Peter being correct, albeit for the wrong reasons. Peter saves, not McDonald's, aka McBurgertown, from a fire one afternoon, and out of gratitude, the manager offers him a lifetime supply of free hamburgers.
No!
God bless you, sir. You saved my life.
But at what cost? At what cost?
Lucky, but I would very much enjoy a lifetime supply of fries myself. But I kind of wonder how this would be enforced. Like, what if the manager quits? Would the deal still be up? Like, how would they know it's him? Like, do they have his picture there? Isn't he the same guy who was intellectually disabled and did a bunch of stuff to them? Like, he got Lois, like, injured with, like, grease? Fast food has a high turnover. Maybe it was different people. Unfortunately, Peter takes advantage of this and eats a fudge-loaded one sitting with Brian.
Peter, you should really slow down. You've already had like 30 hamburgers.
Shut up, Brian. It relieves the pain of mustachelessness.
And because of this, it gives him a stroke.
Oh my god, someone call an ambulance!
Wow, Peter has a ton of health problems for like a man of his age. Like his kidneys, he's intellectually disabled, and now he has a stroke. Of course, Peter hates having a stroke.
If only there was some way I could be like everybody else again.
And physical therapy is apparently non-existent. Like, not saying he would regain everything, but he could, like, have a normal life in some case.
I'm handing you a beer.
You are handing it to my stroke arm. This is my good arm. Bring the beer over here. That's better.
So he is able to cure himself using stem cells.
How long was I in there?
About 5 minutes.
Why are we not funding this?
Because it's going towards making a Shakey's Pizza, Peter. And BTW, I did try it when I went to Anaheim, and Chuck E. Cheese tastes better. Shakey's tasted like they threw it on the floor and rolled it. Like, ugh, gross. No wonder Cartman liked it. Peter decides to sue McBurgertown for his stroke.
Wait, what?
It's their fault I had a stroke, Brian. And I'm gonna sue them for it.
Peter, you ate 30 hamburgers. It was your own fault.
Which, yeah, I'm sorry, I disagree with him on this. Most fast food places don't really hide the fact they're unhealthy and you're making a poor choice by going. You know the health effects, which I probably shouldn't talk because, like, I love fast food, but you know what I mean. And don't quote Supersize Me, that guy was lying and he was an alcoholic vegan who stopped eating meat. Like, nobody has been able to recreate the effects. Go watch Fathead, okay? The documentary is more accurate. At least when McDonald's got sued over the coffee thing, it wasn't some Karen who burnt her lip. McDonald's lied about how hot their coffee was, like it was higher than normal standard, and it gave her third-degree burns that required skin grafts all over her pelvic regions. Wait, why didn't Family Guy make an episode on this? Especially with how McDonald's spread a fake story to discredit her. Like, this could be a good Peter plot. Like, he drinks coffee, but then it, like, burns him everywhere, and then McBurgertown tries to hide that for PR purposes. But anyway, Peter's case gets thrown out of court for obvious reasons, and he decides, out of revenge, to go to the McBurgertown headquarters and dig up some dirt.
Please give me your word that you won't go in that door.
Okay.
Good. See you in a half hour.
Peter, this is your chance.
Brian, I gave him my word.
He finds that the company has bioengineered cows, and one such cow, Mr. Cow, tells him all the horrors.
Unfortunately, life in a slaughterhouse is no laughing matter. They have killed a great many of us, including my beloved wife.
Oh, jeez. Maybe it's good I only eat chicken nuggets and Filet-O-Fish, because, like, it's so good. And I like how it has, like, water if you bite into it. So Mr. Cow testifies before people and explains, like, everything he's witnessed.
The courage lies with a man who has the guts to say no to a fast food restaurant and eat a salad instead.
And this deals a fatal blow to the company. But yeah, this is one of those times where Peter is technically correct, but for the wrong reasons. True, he probably shouldn't have overindulged on 20 hamburgers, but if he didn't, well, Mr. Cow would be a burger. Poor dude, but I bet he would taste delicious.
You're damn right I'm gonna yell at you. You beat up a 13-year-old boy.
He called me names. Maybe you should have just had an abortion, Lois. I'm going to prison, aren't I?
Why is it when I make these lists, they always include bullies? Like, I don't mean for this to happen. Do I have some issues I need to work out? Chris is well known for his paper route, which is where he always sees Mr. Herbert. Oh, poor Chris. But trouble abounds when he learns that a new paper boy has taken over his route. And likely also Herbert's affection, I guess? I don't know a better word for it. Cal.
What are you doing here? Beat it, nerd!
Thank you. Would you like to come inside for a cupcake and a glass of wine?
Shut up, old man.
Of course, it's always a Cal. Lewis tells him that he should stand up to Kyle and remind Herbert why he's a good paperboy, which is good, and Peter agrees.
That's terrible. You're a wonderful paperboy, Chris, and you need to remind your customers of that.
She's right. You gotta stand up for yourself.
Like, maybe don't escalate it to physical violence, but just put your foot down and say, "Dude, this is my paper route, Mr. Herbert, you're one of my customers, and I want you to go, Kyle, and I want Mr. Herbert back as my customer." But Kyle has a wicked push, and he gets beat up in front of all of his friends, plus Herbert.
You pushed me.
Boys, we can settle this. Whoever can swallow the most Tylenol PM wins.
Because, I mean, like, his friends, as in, like, Kyle's friends, you know what, forget it. It's like 4 a.m. I'm, like, tired, guys. That little jerk! No wonder Cartman bullies him. Of course, like any good dad, Peter doesn't like the fact that his son is getting bullied, and he decides that since Chris can't fight, and also he got beat by a boy, not a girl, like in Stewie's case.
Yeah, I'm Peter Griffin. Listen, apparently your son got into a little scrape with my kid.
Oh dear, they're not getting along?
Well, he'll just have a talk with Kyle, even if I feel like he should have a talk with both Kyle and his parents in the same room, but it's the thought that counts. He goes to talk to Kyle, but Kyle won't listen, and Peter loses his temper and eventually strikes him.
Kyle, I said shut up!
You're a poop nose!
Now, of course, I am not in favor of child abuse, no matter how annoying they are, but I understand why Peter did it. He was upset about what happened to his son, and he thought that kid needed to learn his lesson, and that was the only way he would learn. Because sometimes, unfortunately, with bullies, yeah, that's the only way they do, but a lot of bullies, it's like a pick and choose kind of case. Like, I really don't think when it comes to shows there's a one-size-fits-all lesson. Not to mention that, as Peter reveals, he had a bully of his own. Randy!
Randy!
I'm sorry, I just like how he says it constantly, like, Randy! Okay, I'm done. I'm back to the video. So he knows how it is, and he has his own trauma. And like I always say with bullying episodes, yeah, it sucks if you get bullied because that, like, stays with you, even if the bully improves as a person. Which actually happens when Peter tracks down his bully and realizes, like, oh crap, he actually did improve.
Hey, Fulcher!
Griffin?
The feeling's mutual.
BZW, Randy, nowadays, pantsing is considered assault, so maybe don't do that.
Nerd!
Randy!
On the bright side, at least Kyle stopped bullying Chris, and Kyle's parents didn't press assault charges. And also, Peter is able to reconnect with his bully, who does apologize for what happened. If only that would happen to my bully. I really didn't know what happened to her. Like, her name was in the yearbook, but like, I really don't know. I do know she punched out a window, though, in the school because her girlfriend broke up with her, so that was like, Growing up in Newark.
You were supposed to drive tonight. Well, what am I supposed to do? If I drive, I'll have to have a bunch of drinks first because I am very self-conscious about my driving.
Oh, you've got a date. What's his name? Ha!
Okay, the first time, not the second. Well, maybe the second. We'll get there when we get there. Brian has started dating Shauna, a teacher of color at James Woods High, who happens to be of a skin tone that Brian's father, Coco, would hate. Good thing he got hit by that milk truck.
I'm the 11th grade history teacher, Miss Parks.
Oh, like Rosa Parks. Or someone white named Parks.
Nothing cuter than a nervous white dog.
To impress Shauna, Brian suggests they should rename the school, James Woods High, after MLK. And it does impress her.
Actually, that didn't really come out right.
Brian, relax. I'm having a great time. You don't have to try so hard.
Great. Because, I'm not okay with slavery, just so we're clear.
You know what? Maybe Viola Davis would be better. Sure, she wasn't born in Rhode Island, but she grew up there. Her family was very involved in the civil rights movement, and she won the Triple Crown. Just saying, even though I advocate for it, not everybody knows who Sissy Loretta Jones is. Peter is the only one to oppose this.
You gonna name the school after the star of Space 1999?
Oh, that's Martin Landau.
The guy who played Shanae?
That's Martin Lawrence.
The drunk crooner?
That's Dean Martin.
The drink that's best served on the rocks?
Martini and Rossi.
The thing is, even if Peter is portrayed as doing it for somewhat arbitrary reasons, or because he really loves Rhode Island and James Woods, well, I feel like he has a point. Brian isn't doing it to be progressive, like as in he personally believes MLK in his mission and thinks the school would benefit from honoring him, but because he just wants to score brownie points with his girlfriend. And as Peter said, he picked the most generic guys possible.
I don't know, Sidney Poitier, Reggie Jackson, Martin Luther King. That is not true.
Oh, yeah? Well, then why'd you pick Martin Luther King, eh? Why not Ronald Reagan?
Yeah, that's kind of why I advocated for Viola Davis or Sissy Loretta Jones, because, hey, everybody would be happy. To sabotage Brian, Peter contacts James Woods himself and wants him to speak to the school board. And strangely, he agrees with Brian. Too bad this causes the school board to actually think that James Woods is a nice guy deserving of the honor of the school being named after him.
I'm all in favor of renaming the school after Dr. King.
What?
Wow, a big star and yet so humble.
James Woods High School, it remains.
What?
But since the show has portrayed James Woods as a villain, well, part of me has wondered if he truly meant this. Like, oh, it's fine. Or if he knew if he acted nice, they'd agree with him. Either interpretation is possible. The second time Peter was right was in his second appearance where he becomes a proper villain. James Woods spends the entire episode stealing Peter's identity to get revenge on him for what happened in this episode. And Peter, in exchange, steals James Woods' identity to ruin his image. But as Peter realizes all too late, there was a way around this. Just trap him like they did last time.
Ooh, a piece of candy. Ooh, a piece of candy.
Okay, Brian, next time let's remember this right away because he's done this twice.
True, I love candy. But hey, at least when James Woods High was renamed to Adam West High, well, everybody was happy with the decision, including Peter.
We go to a hotel, you hide the key to the minibar from me. But I found it. Lois.
Peter did nothing wrong, and I will die on this hill. It's no secret that Brian is in love with Lois. Subconsciously or unconsciously or intentional or not. And I think it's part of the reason why he always goes after bimbos, or he can't find the right one. He knows they aren't Lois, so he self-sabotages.
Little music, some candlelight.
Lois, my darling.
Whoa. What am I doing? This is Lois, Peter's wife. How can I even think about trying anything?
Brian in Love was specifically about Brian realizing in therapy that he was in love with Lois, while Lois rejected him for obvious reasons, but in a polite way they could both agree with. It would obviously hurt their friendship, whereas this episode, suddenly his feelings return for reasons. Brian's essay wins a contest, and Brian wins an all-expense-paid trip to Martha's Vineyard, a place I have always wanted to go to but couldn't because I don't have a car. Plus, they only really do, planes to Martha's Vineyard, once a year, and I'm usually busy during that time. But he invites Lois and Peter to go with.
But he promised he'd go with me to put flowers on my grandmother's grave this afternoon, so I guess it's all right. Peter, are you ready?
Oh, right.
The thing is, for this episode to work, they have to write Peter worse than he already is. Like how he purposefully mistreats and neglects Lois throughout the episode so that Brian will look better by comparison.
I'm half shark and half Peter. Don't come near me. I will eat you.
Peter, will you knock that off? It's getting annoying.
All right, fine.
No, Brian, you don't have the high ground. You're Anakin. Don't get me wrong. I can 100% see Peter doing this in any other episode. But yeah, they just dial it up this time. Or how they eventually get to the vacation and he acts like an even bigger jerk.
I was hoping we could go paddle boating today.
Great, but can we do it after 5? There's a ball game on. Good, now can you move, please? You're blocking the screen.
Throughout their stay, Lois and Brian bond, but Brian starts to fall in love with Lois again, and he basically throws himself at her like he almost assaults her.
Lois, I'd really like to talk about this.
No! Stop scratching the door!
Okay.
Ew! Peter finds out, and he's livid, and rightfully so, especially since Lois did not like what happened, and he wanted to tell her. And they weren't both drunk. Brian knew full well what he was doing.
Lois told me there was some funny business.
Yeah, what of it?
Well, it's just, I can't help but feel a little betrayed, Brian. Lois is my wife, and, well, I mean, all the dry food I bought for you over the years.
And I gotta say, I hate Brian's whole speech at the bar like, oh, she doesn't deserve you. Off, dude.
Well, who the hell are you to tell me how to run my marriage? You can't even hang on to a girlfriend for more than a couple months.
What the hell is that supposed to mean?
Oh, you're a freaking train wreck.
He's got a point. Brian knows nothing about relationships. He treats his dates horribly. He even treated Jillian like a little kid when they were dating.
You couldn't even get Jillian to take you back, and she was dumber than Lou Ferrigno.
See? And for all you could say about Lois and Peter, they did still have a good marriage back then. It was a little rocky, but they did like each other. So yeah, Peter does know what he's talking about. And speaking of, in the episode where they broke up, even Peter told him to get his crap together and actually treat her with respect. But eventually, Peter and Brian come to an understanding after much violence.
She's my wife, and you're my best pal. So what are we gonna do about this?
I promise, Peter.
And they agree to enjoy the spirit of Massachusetts because it's the spirit of America. So, I guess yay.
What kind of a man gets fired by a broad?
A man with a female boss?
Don't crack wise. Listen, Peter, you're a man. And what do you think it means to be a man?
Not getting pushed around?
Holy crap, I didn't realize until I made this list how often Peter is a victim of assault, and how often it just happens. Like Angela, this episode, the breeding bowl, Thelma's friend. Oh, and don't forget Prick Up Your Ears, where Lois does it to him so he'll stop being abstinent. But let's focus on Peter Assman for now. Peter pretends to play paparazzi, but annoys people one time too many, and gets his glasses broken.
And here I was going to use the money to take you to Cancun this winter.
Cancun, Peter.
Whoa, I don't like Ollie any more than you do, but we are a 21st century family.
Which I sympathize with. My glasses are broken because I got Tegrity baptized at Colossal Con. Sorry, that was a crazy weekend. It was like a frat party. And the America's Best by my house is booked up for like another week, so it's gonna take me a while to get new glasses. In the meantime, he wears contacts, something I can't do, and he gets noticed by his boss, Angela.
You're not wearing glasses.
And I got busted. I'm wearing contacts.
I can see your eyes and your eyelashes. They're beautiful.
Who cares?
Lucky. I have to wear glasses. One, my eyes are ultra sensitive, so there's no way I could touch them long enough to wear contacts. Like literally, the one time I successfully did it, I was in 4th grade and my parents had to hold me down for like 20 minutes. And they'd probably give me a headache. And second, I have frog skeleton bug eyes, so it's better if I cover them up. Seeing Peter without glasses causes Angela to fall in love with him. Which, okay, that's an okay premise for an episode. But this is Family Guy, so Angela takes it too far and starts to harass him.
No, I don't want to.
Griffin, you're fired.
Fine, fire me. I'm through being harassed by you.
And she also assaults him more than once and says that his job is on the line if he doesn't comply.
Because your car broke down and you need to wipe a cold soda on your neck to cool off.
Well, maybe I don't need to cool off.
Maybe you don't need to be employed.
One complaint this episode gets, rightfully so, is you can argue it tries to make fun of the double standard involving harassment, where if a woman gets harassed, it's bad, but if a man gets harassed, he probably wanted it, so who cares? But it's so confusing, you can't really tell if they're saying that Peter getting harassed is bad and men can be harassed too, or if they're saying it's no big whoop and Peter just has to get over it. Especially with how it's portrayed, like there's no irony to the tone, nothing. But no, Peter is correct. He's getting harassed. Angela is using her power as his boss to make him submit to her wishes he doesn't want to do. She's humiliating him and making him uncomfortable. And not helping is how, when he tells Lois, she just dismisses him.
Your father was sexually harassed at work today.
So what? Peter, a woman can't sexually harass a man.
Why not?
I don't know, it just doesn't make any sense.
In Lois's defense, honestly, I hate to say it, this is the same guy who thought a prostate exam was rape, and she even laughed at him then, so maybe you can argue she just assumes Angela could have like bumped into him or shook his hand, and he thinks that's like inappropriate or something. But no, she outright says that Peter can't be harassed even though he was, because he's a man, and therefore he must enjoy what's happening to him.
See, Peter, that's harassment. An older man, a weak younger woman. He could have taken advantage of her, forced her to do things to him.
He did.
See?
But Lois, Peter knows what he's talking about. He took a class with Gloria Ironbox and he passed, and he knows what labor feels like because he fell down a tree. So yeah, this is one of those times Peter is right, but the universe basically tells him to get over it because we need an episode. And not helping is when he puts his foot down and Angela decides to, in response, take her own life. Not out of guilt, but because...
I just wish one person was able to find me attractive. But that's not too much to ask, is it?
No.
I don't know how to respond to that, but no, Peter is under no obligation to make you happy in that case, literally any case. Angela, he's married, and he doesn't want to sleep with you, end of story, case closed. Like, imagine telling a secretary she has to sleep with her boss, or she's fired, or he'll take his own life because he's that lonely. That's what this is. It's so, like, just go watch that South Park episode, guys, please. At least when Beetlejuice spent a whole musical harassing Adam got back at him at the end, so I don't mind laughing at that. Plus, it's portrayed as a bad thing because BJ doing that kind of makes it harder for Adam to want to be his friend, even though BJ wants friends, so yeah, they're right, he is a needy pervert.
Hell, I witnessed every significant historical event in my lifetime right here. I was in this booth when President Obama was elected. Oh my God, no!
Peter's home away from home is the Drunken Clam, a place where everybody knows his name and they're so glad he came, where he can get drunk and hang out with his friends, and he always has a special spot, his booth. Of course, what with me being a creature of habit, you kind of realize you're in a smoldering void if somebody were to steal your spot. Like, I thought Sheldon was kidding, but no. Like, obviously, I'm not gonna go Hank Hill and church hopping, but yeah, it does suck. One day, the guys go to the bar, but discover they were beat there by a group of fuggish fugs. Looking dudes. Okay, we're just gonna call them looking dudes because I tried saying fuggish fugs and that sounds weird.
We'll come back in an hour.
Nice try, Wheelie, but this ain't your booth no more.
We see you losers anywhere near this booth and we'll bust your kneecaps.
We're willing to take that risk.
Shut up, Joe.
Of course, it does suck, but they try to make the best of it by going to the bar part of the actual bar. Which sucks too. There's not enough space for me.
All I can see is...
What? You can't see what?
I can only see...
What? Damn it, Peter!
Ow!
Joe, what are you trying to say?
It doesn't matter. I hate sitting at the bar.
I know the feeling. It makes me feel like I'm gonna fall any minute. At least it's better than those bars that just have really big tables and no chairs so you can't actually sit. Maybe my feet are tired. Eventually, they try to get their spot back by force, but that doesn't work either.
What are we supposed to do, fight those guys? They would have kicked our asses.
Peter's right. We just got to accept the fact that, well, we're kind of cowards.
I know.
What's sad is the news of Peter's defeat spreads like wildfire, and everybody makes fun of him for it, and the guys for getting their spot lost. Like Chris likely unleashing repressed rage against his father by becoming the new patriarch.
Can you help her fold?
No, but you know what? You put on her bra.
I don't want it.
Well, you're gonna. Everybody heard about what happened over at the Clam.
Well, Quagmire can't carry out his duties as flight captain anymore. Pilot? I know nothing about flights. Also, Joe and Bonnie have a sad marriage because character derailment, but I don't know.
I heard about what happened at the Clam, and I'm not interested in
feed the fish
with a quarter of a man.
Hey, I'm half a man.
Not anymore.
Peter decides that he isn't going back there, and I hate to say it, he kinda has a point considering the ending. But we'll get there when we get there. Lois tells Peter to stand up for himself, and he and the guys go to fight the dudes, who beat the tar out of them in front of everybody, who don't really do anything to intervene. But they are able to avoid any responsibility because it turns out they're soldiers about to be deployed to Afghanistan.
Why are we even bothering with these idiots? We're shipping out to Afghanistan tomorrow.
You guys are soldiers?
It's our third tour of duty.
Like, everybody acts like Peter and the guys are to blame, like they were antagonizing them. No, they weren't. The guys threatened them.
Everyone, I declare this to be These Three Guys' Day, and not These Three Guys' Day.
Now, a lot of people hate this episode. Heck, a lot of people hate this, ending. And rightfully so, since Peter, well, I guess he does deserve some punishment for how he can be. Well, all he wanted was his booth back. And his pride, I guess, and his reputation. And Joe and Quagmire didn't really do anything. They spent the entire episode getting tortured. And then at the end, it's like, oh yeah, they were right to torture you. With, no hint of irony. Honestly, I think they should have had Peter and the guys be like, oh my god, you're soldiers? We're so sorry. Because they're soldiers. Especially Joe, because, I don't know, I feel like in some way the military and the police are related. That way, it would seem just as outlandish of an ending. Plus, those dudes said they were getting deployed to Afghanistan, so it does feel like if Peter and them waited maybe a week or two, well, the booth would be theirs for the taking. Maybe this is the one time the pacifist route would have worked.
I am giving her a piece of my mind.
Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad.
Wait, you been upstairs the whole time? I figured all that clomping around up there was Junior Gorg from Fraggle Rock.
Ew, feet. They just look round, and they might have ringworm, but I am pigeon-toed and bunions, so am I one to talk? BTW, I am not shaming, I just personally hate feet. Meg is approached one fine day by an agent about modeling, and I gotta say, yeah, I do think Meg would make for a good model. Plus-size acceptance. I mean, her father was the founder and proprietor of a plus-size acceptance group that was targeted by the Fat Guy Strangler, so it's in the blood.
Evan thinks I'm a natural and that I'm gonna be a huge success.
You famous? Come on, Meg, your only chance at fame would have been as the dog on Frasier.
But Meg finds that nobody took pictures of her, of actually her, instead of her feet.
But when you asked me to model, I thought you meant real modeling.
This is real modeling, and you could be our next big star.
Really? I don't know.
No, obviously, well, it's kind of problematic in a way. I mean, even if Meg is 18, most episodes still treat her like a minor teenager. And in many jurisdictions, I guess 18 is still a minor in some ways. And while I am fine if you express your body or model or do all that, yeah, I don't think I would like my 18-year-old daughter doing it. Even if people probably don't know it's her just because of what it entails. Now, if she were 21, then we'll talk. Of course, the Griffins find out because Chris has Google, and they aren't mad at Chris, strangely. Just saying, I don't care he did, but this is one of those episodes where Peter and Lois actually act like parents, so I feel like they would have a problem with it if we go with that characterization. But yes, the point is, they do confront Meg, but Meg has a retort of her own. Why the F do you care now?
Are you kidding? All you've done is make fun of anybody possibly thinking I could be a model. Well, guess what? There are people out there who think I'm beautiful.
That is correct. Why do they care now? Really, they never say it. Obviously, it's because, no parent would want their kid doing that, but, yeah, it's just weird. Because of this, Meg leaves to go to a modeling party, where it turns out she'll be the cookie biscuit in the center of the circle. Ew, poor girl. That's why. It's one thing if you know what you're getting into. That's why, adults do it. But Meg had no clue what was happening or could happen. That's gross. Ew. Plus, even if this is a Peter video, well, Lois herself was briefly a model, and by the end of her career, you could literally play the xylophone on her ribs. So I think both know a little bit about what they're talking about. But they do rescue Meg, and for once, Meg is grateful. Aww.
Aww.
I heard a cute aw in there. Cool down.
He knows what's up. Meg is Peter's daughter, and throughout the show, her and Quagmire have a weird relationship, like probably more uncle and niece than her and Joe. But it is weird to say, like, wow, Peter is such a horrible father that the rapist offender is a better role model to his own daughter than him. But there are times when Peter disagrees with how Quagmire treats her, especially in the episode Meg and Quagmire, or Quagmire and Meg if you go on the Family Guy wiki. Throughout the show, Quagmire has come on to Meg and made jokes, but he senses his chance when Meg turns 18, which part of me has always wondered about this. The age of consent is 16 in Rhode Island. Most states, it's not even 18. Not saying to go after teens, you frickin' perverts. I'm not advocating this. My channel can't be taken as proof of admission in court, but I guess TV does this because of standards and practices, but there really is nothing stopping Quagmire, like, I'm sorry to say. Maybe he figures that Meg is his best friend's daughter, so he has some sort of standard in that regard, or maybe he figures he can argue that Meg is 18 and she can make her own choices by that point.
Peter, it's me, Quagmire. This is what I do. Besides, Meg is 18 now, and you've got to let go. You've done your job. It's my turn now.
Either way, we got this episode. Meg has had a horrible birthday, the Teen Choice Awards sucked, are they still a thing? And nobody showed up to her surprise party because they went to go play Fight Club with Mort.
Hey, the first rule of Jewish Fight Club is if somebody says ow, you stop. Ow! Okay, let's see.
But there is one light in the darkness. Literally in this case because he has a candle. Quagmire.
A scented candle? As a girl, I love this.
That was originally $30.
That's like the price of a menstrual cup, but I am scared of candles because fire. Peter is happy until he realizes, holy crap, Quagmire is hitting on Meg, which, like, is gross. Like, he's known her all her life. He's basically a godfather to her, even though I do not care for the godfather. He wants it to be put to an end, but Lois says that Meg isn't serious, so he should just let it play out.
She's only doing this to get a rise out of us. If we fight her on it, she'll only push further.
Well, she may not plan on sleeping with him, but you don't know how smooth Quagmire is, Lois.
Lois, you know Glenn too. When he thought you and Peter were done when Peter had amnesia, his first instinct was to try and bone you. And the only reason it didn't happen was you actually being affectionate with him made him unable to perform. No offense, I wouldn't trust that guy with a donut. Don't touch my apple cider donuts, Glenn. I don't like glaze. But I think Peter knows what he's talking about. He knows Glenn personally and way better than Lois. He does go to Glenn personally to tell him to cool it, but unfortunately, he won't.
There you go. Wait a second! No, I won't talk to her, and I want you to stay the hell away from her!
I want to help you, Peter, I really do. But it's like you're asking a fish not to swim.
I'm sure you could find a way to substitute Glenn, like somebody at a bar maybe, or like, I'm sure you got plenty of stuff in your house. Why does it have to be Meg? I mean, Bonnie is right there, and Bonnie looks like way nicer, and she's of legal age, and she sounds like Tiffany Valentine. So Peter does his best to try and stop Glenn whenever he comes over to flirt with Meg, or when they go on a date, even if Glenn gets under his skin at times.
All right, well, I better send a text to Backbush. Oh, come on, I'm Backbush?
This can't be a surprise to you, Peter.
Yeah, I knew. I just didn't know you knew.
Aww, Glenn makes up names for people too, which are known to only him. Well, sorry, I'm bad with names. I know, like, that guy, and that dude, and that chick, and that person. Wait, as I was saying, Lois realizes Peter is serious when Meg agrees to go away with Glenn for the weekend to his remote cabin. His favorite cabin, where he takes all his dates, where they eat ice cream in their underwear and play follow the leader with their shadows, if you catch my drift. Which means they're gonna do Quagmire-ish things.
Oh my god, I can't believe you knew about this and you let her go?
Hey, don't give me that crap. I'm doing exactly what you told me to do. You said don't mess with her business, so I didn't.
Ew, but yeah, in a roundabout way, Peter was right.
So you admit you were wrong?
Yes.
You admit you were stupid?
Yes.
You admit all women are stupid?
No.
All right, I'll take what I can get. Come on!
Thankfully, they get there in time, and they're able to stop Glenn from making a huge mistake. And Peter actually acts like a dad for once.
Meg, I'm only gonna say this once. You may be an adult, but you're still my daughter. And it's my job to protect you. So I don't care how old you are, you're gonna do what I say and get in the damn car!
Aw, now we only saw more of that. But as Peter reveals, the reason he was so hasty was because he went through what Meg did.
I was stunning. But while my body was mature, I had the mind of a 12-year-old. Elaine invited me over with the promise of pie.
Okay, nobody talks about how much he was a victim, like, dang, but yeah, I think he probably just did it because he knows Quagmire personally, so I don't really like the ending scene, even though it is funny. It's kind of unnecessary.
yourself by putting on those filthy shows.
Oh, Lois, you are so full of... What? No, I can't say in my own house?
I understand your pain, Peter. I really do. I have a YouTube channel. Peter has to attend Meg school play over watching the Emmys, because this was before DVR and cell phones. And while he was gone, David Hyde Pierce, one of my favorite celebrities, because he was in Spamalot, had a wardrobe malfunction and he missed it. Aww, that sucks.
We got 20 calls about the David Hyde Pierce incident. And as you know, one call equals a billion people, which means 20 billion people were offended.
This act causes the FCC to overreact and basically censor anything and everything on TV, which angers him.
One of these days, Alice, one of these days!
I'm gonna help stimulate the economy by buying an American car.
Obviously, this is based off of what happened to Janet Jackson and Justin Timberlake at the NFL Super Bowl, and how the FCC reacted afterwards. And yeah, I do kind of agree with Peter. From what I gather, and what likely happened with David Hyde Pierce, it was a genuine accident, and I don't think they really should have done all that. Plus, honestly, it was kind of unfair the incident has only really affected Janet Jackson. Like, I don't really think her career has recovered for that, and not Justin Timberlake, who has made several successful comebacks. Anyhow, Peter gets inspired to start his own TV channel in response to this, since this was before indie animation got big on YouTube and before YouTube happened, even though the story goes YouTube was inspired by Janet Jackson. And he does weird programming, which I am not allowed to show. Lois disagrees on this, saying that impressionable kids can see it.
Peter, I really want you to cancel that show.
Lois, responsibility lies with the parents. There are plenty of things that are much worse for children than television.
But I gotta say, I disagree with Lois being a Marge and agree with Brian. Jesus Christ, I agree with Brian. This isn't his video, even though I do plan on eventually giving him one of these. But yeah, as a content creator, I am of the opinion that it's up to the parent. I just make videos, I'm not the babysitter, even if I do know that kids are watching my channel. If you don't want your kid watching something on YouTube, put a timer on the iPad or just block it. Or tell them why it's wrong and explain it. However, being a kid once myself, I do think that when it comes to naughty shows, or at least adult shows, well, kids are gonna find a way to do it or watch it anyway. The least you can do is either make sure they're doing it safely, or say like, okay, you can watch it, but don't repeat it. If you repeat it, you can't watch it anymore. So I have no problem with that, honestly. I just care about kids being in adult spaces. Not to mention that contrary to Lois's fears, we never actually see the kids, or any kids for that matter, actually imitating Peter or doing something crazy. So she's basically complaining over nothing. But Lois decides that enough is enough and calls the FCC on Peter. And Peter doesn't get sued, strangely, because this causes him to sing one of the best songs in the show about the frickin' FCC and the harm they cause by overreacting to everything. Which, since he's doing it with Stewie and Brian, is just Seth MacFarlane singing with himself. But I do agree with him on that too. While some censorship obviously is necessary, well, yeah, the FCC takes it too far. Even in this episode, Peter even says,
"Well, Mr. FCC, you can stop PTV, but you can never stop people from being who they are."
Or can we?
Oh, Peter, you dumb idiot. To teach him a lesson, the FCC starts to censor everything in real life. Like if you step out of the shower without putting on a towel, they put a censor bar over you. Or if you curse, they use a blowhorn.
I know it's a little extreme, but when it comes to our children, it's better to err on the safe side.
You know, Lois, if everybody was as close-minded as you, the world wouldn't have some of its most inspired creations.
And Lois is cool with it affecting everybody until it starts affecting her. Because clearly, she's the only one who matters in this conflict. So Lois has to do the impossible. Admit she was wrong. Say it, Lois!
I don't want to admit it, but I think you were right.
Yay!
I don't believe it. Finally, I set that thing up 15 years ago. Hey, where's the clown?
To this end, Peter gets rid of the FCC by marching down to Washington and suggesting that our world is actually kind of suggestive when you get down to it, including the capital they inhabit.
My God, how could we have been so blind?
He's absolutely right. Come to think of it, have you ever looked closely at the Lincoln Memorial?
Because of Peter, I now think about this whenever I go to DC. Thank you. Also, BTW, the real FCC, apparently saw this episode and they thought it was hilarious, further proving my point.
Two Dannies, so we can always say, let's not go to that one, let's go to the good one.
And we can build a community just like the one we had.
No, we'll build a better one.
It's weird watching episodes or movies centered on Y2K when I myself was born in the fourth quarter of 1999. Like, if it actually happened, I would have been born during an apocalypse. Like, even Bill Clinton was still president when I was born. God, I'm old. In this episode that may or may not have happened, Peter learns about Y2K.
At midnight, every computer in the world is gonna fail. Planes will fall out of the sky, and all the world's nuclear weapons will explode, annihilating the entire planet.
Basically, if you weren't around for it, in a nutshell, Y2K was the belief that when the year 2000 happened, computers would fail because they would read the year 2000 as 1999. I don't know, I'm not a big tech person. Shady Durags goes into more detail during his Millennium review, but what seemed like mass hysteria to us was a well-known fear back then. Many people thought that banks would fail, or nuclear launch codes would go off, or stuff like that, which despite all the paranoia, this did get solved by tech companies upgrading, albeit there were still problems, but incredibly minor ones, like video store rentals or stuff like that, which could have easily been solved, like, oh, it did this wrong? Okay, you know what, we'll just take this off the account. Family Guy did a what-if style non-canon episode about what if Y2K did happen? How would the Griffins react? Because of a crazy guy on the street, Peter thinks that it'll happen, while everybody else is convinced it's just rampant paranoia.
Peter, you've been down there all day. I hope you're all ready. Ah!
Oh my God! The government is here! Run, E.T., run!
But Peter still goes for the trouble of locking the family in the basement, and as expected, Y2K does happen and the whole world explodes in a nuclear blast. Quahog is destroyed, some of their friends are mutated, and the news station ends up eating Trisha Takanawa, but the Griffins do indeed survive.
Just like there was no apocalypse, he shoots, he scores!
Okay, we were wrong about the end of the world and you were right.
You're damn right. Unfortunately, Peter makes it worse for everybody by eating all of their leftover food, but here's where his genius strikes again. He learns that Twinkies can survive nuclear Armageddon, and the family journeys to Massachusetts to find some.
There's no factory?
Oh, very good, fat man! We've followed the Pied Piper of Hamsteak to the gates of oblivion, and look what it's brought us!
Even though, unfortunately, in real life, Twinkies would not survive the apocalypse. I'm sorry for bursting your bubble, and for ruining Zombieland. And strangely, once they get there, they find that there's a factory with enough to feed a small town, and probably produce as much as possible.
Oh, words! Should have sent a poet.
There's enough food to last us forever.
Peter was saved! You were right!
So they found a new town, aka New Quahog, and because of Peter's genius, he's made the mayor. Only here's where he's right again. He decides that the town is defenseless, which is true. They're still in recovery mode. They don't know what could happen. Like, people could just descend on the town. They're basically defenseless. They don't know what's out there, and he uses the town's pipes to make guns.
You destroyed all our water pipes?
We don't need guns, we need food and water!
I have a canker sore on my lip and I keep poking at it with my tongue, but that's only making it worse.
For this, he and his family are exiled, but he's proven right when Stewie, who was mutated into an octopus, lays eggs, and when they hatch, they lay waste to the people of New Quahog.
Honey, I'm sorry I got us kicked out of New Quahog. I guess nobody really needs guns. I'm not always right after all.
So there you have it. Peter saved his family from what was seen as a conspiracy fringe theory, and he's likely going to save them again by going to a Carvel factory, since the family is now traveling there. And let's hope that his family isn't lactose intolerant, like me.